What's the difference between innovator and fraudster? Answer is the feds love them differently. Seriously, they adore the law-abiding innovator, but are dear to the frauds who keep them busy. Take a look at these Fed magnet startups. They either paid the price or the fine, or are about to. Investors should be respected. One Taste, a startup founded in San Francisco. They offered orgasmic meditation, held classes claiming that a specific type of clitoral massage had mental and physical health benefits. Year-long membership ran up to $60,000. Nicole Day-Dunn, founder and former CEO, and Rachel Cherwitz, the company's former head of sales, were charged in connection to their leadership of the company, facing conspiracy charges connected to sexual abuse, psychological abuse, and intimidation against its clients. They intentionally targeted vulnerable individuals and induced them to rack up more debt to attend One Taste classes. The two executives were charged. Frank, the Amazon for hire education. JP Morgan Chase acquired the company in 2021 and Frank's founder Charlie Javis was made a managing director at the bank. She lied that Frank had served over 5 million students at 6,000 colleges. Later on she was charged by the Justice Department with falsely and dramatically inflating the number of customers of her company. Frank only had about 300,000 clients and fabricated the rest by enlisting a data scientist. And JP Morgan acquired Frank at $175 million. She is accused of conspiracy to commit bank and wire fraud, defrauding a financial institution, bank fraud, and securities fraud. JP Morgan shut down the startup. FTX. Sam Bankman-Fried founded FTX, an exchange that let users buy and sell digital assets such as Bitcoin. Cryptocurrency valuations surged over the ensuing years, propelling Bankman-Fried to a net worth of $26 billion. The former king of crypto now faces decades in jail. He channeled FTX's funds to Alameda Research, his first company. Wang, the CTO of FTX, said that funds came from customer accounts. New York jury convicted him of fraud in a scheme that cheated customers and investors of at least $10 billion. Martin Shkreli. He got branded the most hated man in America after he raised the price of a life-saving drug by 5,000%. He was CEO of Turing Pharmaceuticals when this happened. Shkreli was the founder and managing member of hedge funds MSMB Capital and MSMB Healthcare, also former CEO of his startup Retrofin. He was convicted for deceiving investors into entrusting their money with his hedge funds and lying to them about the funds performing. He is now back from jail with a crypto startup in a field that the feds banned him from operating in for life. Theranos was a health startup founded by Elizabeth Holmes. It claimed to have developed a revolutionary blood testing technology that could quickly and inexpensively test many conditions with drops of blood. They were outed by journalistic investigations. The Wall Street Journal proved their tech never existed. Theranos had misled investors, patients, and doctors about its technology, yet attracted $945 million in financing. Elizabeth Holmes and former Theranos president Ramesh Balwani were charged with fraud. Holmes had to restitute the victims of her crimes, going from a net worth of $4 billion to zero. Balwani went to jail. Ripple Labs. In its December 2020 lawsuit, the SEC accused Ripple of illegally raising more than $1.3 billion in an unregistered securities offering by selling XRP. The district judge on the case granted Ripple a partial win in the case, finding that XRP was not a form of securities, and subsequently rejected a request by the SEC to appeal. However, the ruling was partly in the SEC's favor, saying Ripple had shown the company's $728.9 million of XRP sales to hedge funds and other buyers, thus violating the law. Later, the SEC dropped charges against Ripple. The only win here. Headspin. They provide software and hardware to businesses for testing their mobile apps. Founder/CEO Manish Lachwani was inflating revenue numbers and falsifying contracts and invoices. The board in turn acted quickly and decisively. The SEC settled fraud charges against Headspin without penalizing the startup. Headspin's actual revenues were 4 times lower than the $96 million reported. Lachwani reported a $3 million net income instead of a loss. After accounting, Headspin's valuation was revised from $1.1 billion to about $300 million. Lachwani resigned, facing a maximum prison sentence of 20 years and fines in excess of $5 million. Bitwise began as a coding boot camp, acquiring buildings over the years to host local businesses and opening co-working spaces. Bitwise had been the tech darling of the Central Valley. It all collapsed when the company furloughed all 900 of its employees, and 2 weeks later told them their jobs were permanently eliminated. Lawsuits began after Bitwise filed for bankruptcy. Its co-founders faced federal charges for a $100 million fraud scheme. Olwin and Sobel had begun lying to board members, investors, and lenders to obtain more funding. They fabricated information in board presentations and investor materials and forged various records, including a screenshot of a company account that showed a cash balance of $23.4 million when it only had $325,100. Each could face a maximum of 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Canoe. The company merged with Special Purpose Acquisition Company, Hennessy Capital Acquisition Corporation. Canoe's public financial projections were materially inaccurate. Canoe projected revenue of $120 million for 2021 and $250 for 2022 in connection with the provision of engineering services to other companies. The carmaker's stock tumbled 21% after it announced it would not achieve the anticipated revenue. Canoe was fined $1.5 million for reporting failures related to hundreds of millions of dollars of unreasonable revenue projections. Kraken. Kraken combined the traditional services of an exchange, broker, dealer, and clearing agency without having registered any of those functions license as required by law. Kraken thus made hundreds of millions of dollars unlawfully facilitating the buying and selling of crypto asset securities. This year, Kraken agreed to cease offering or selling securities through crypto asset staking services or staking programs and pay a civil penalty of $30 million. This is the same fate that awaits Coinbase, whereas they maintain the position held by Ripple Labs. Binance conducted an unlicensed money transmitter business, conspiracy, and breaching sanctions regulations. In 2022, Reuters lifted the lid on Binance and its secretive founder, Changpeng Zhao, after revealing that Binance was withholding information from regulators and purposefully maintaining weak financial crime controls. Reuters reporters explored the social and political impact of gaps in the company's anti-money laundering checks. The revelations grabbed the attention of global regulators. Zhao stepped down and pleaded guilty to breaking U.S. anti-money laundering laws as part of a $4.3 billion settlement resolving a years-long Grayshift, the startup that breaks into iPhones for the feds. It is behind one of the U.S. government's favorite iPhone hacking technologies. Graykey, first revealed to many by Forbes in 2018, is used by a wide range of federal agencies, from immigration and customs enforcement to the FBI and the Oval Office. It's also used by a massive number of local police agencies across America. It's a huge round for a phone forensics company, especially one that's focused almost exclusively on breaking through the security of an iPhone. It raised $47 million in funding. Grayshift had doubled revenues, customer adoption, and employee growth, all in a year. On certain 2 months, Grayshift secured a $900,000 deal with ICE and multiple contracts with the FBI and the DEA. They are also looking on developing an Android product.